Welcome Super Souls to the Moon Magic Tarot channel. In these readings we are asking your higher self's guidance on how to change limiting beliefs and rewrite your life script. So I can see the cards already for 1 and 2. These are the cards we're going to use to guide you into the readings. We'll also draw a charm and a rune as well. So, reading number 1, you have the card of Mouse. Reading number 2, you have the card of Cosmic Egg. And reading number 3, you have the card of the Tiger. Wow. Okay, so let us now draw a rune and a charm for those of you that would like extra guidance to bring you in. Ooh, all 3 coming out in one go. Okay. Right, reading number 1. You have the rune of nourishment, of possessions. Reading number 2, you have the rune of separation, Othilla. And reading number 3, you have the rune of wholeness. Okay, so we'll now draw a charm and we will see what we are shown here. Reading number 1, very interesting. You have the charm of the hand. There's also a hole here. There's a space in this hand. Reading number 2, you have the tree of life. Reading number 3, you have the sign of peace. Okay, so Super Souls, I'm going to leave the video running for just a few moments for anyone that needs a little bit more time, and you can always pause the video. So take your time, trust your intuition. You may find you're guided to more than one, in which case it is probably worth listening to more than one. I will be putting these into the Timeless Readings playlist, so you can find them at any time. Super Souls, I will leave you with your intuition to guide you in, and I will see you in the readings in just a moment. Welcome, reading number 1. You've been drawn to the reading guided by the card of the Mouse, the hand, and the rune of possessions, nourishment. It's very interesting. The first thing we're actually going to do before we dive into any connection with this card is draw from an inner child pack. And most of our limiting beliefs inevitably come from some aspect of our inner childhood. We're going to draw an Angel Answers card as well. And we are asking your higher self for reading number 1. What can reading number 1 do to let go or change their limiting beliefs, perhaps transform their limiting beliefs and rewrite their life script? I think we'll look at these cards first before we go any further. So you have the Child of Swords. Goodness me, lots of swords. You have the Mouse card, the Child of Swords. Look at this. This is Pinocchio. Look at that, pointing at that nose in the mirror. Gosh, Child of Swords, 10 of Swords. Again, look at this sort of dragon eating itself. It's in a loop. You need to break a cycle. That's what this card is saying. Your higher self is saying there's within the cycle of a limiting belief, when it's being reenacted, there's a very clear message coming through for you, reading number 1. When a limiting belief kicks in, there are always pivotal moments within the thinking pattern and the response to that where we can learn to press a pause button. We can put the brakes on. Okay, and you're being invited here. They're saying, your higher self is saying, there is a certain point within your thinking pattern when you can become aware of the fact that the limiting belief is kicking in, and that is the point at which you need to call a halt. Okay, and the 9 of Swords is giving us an indication of where in that cycle that pattern is breakable. There's a moment, there's almost a pivotal moment when you reach a point of despondency. That's what I'm being shown here. So there's a cycle and there's a pivotal point in a space of your limiting beliefs where you hit a point of despondency, and it's almost as though you sort of collapse a bit. You're often at that point then led into picking yourself to pieces. You know, the energy of mice of a mouse is that they're very, very good at looking at the fine detail of things, but sometimes they get really finicky and they're so bound up in the detail that they can't see the woods for the trees. Now, the point of power for you within the changing of a limiting belief and the changing of a cycle for you is the point when you actually naturally come to a pause. You naturally come to a pause, but you tend in that moment, and this is what your higher self is saying, you tend in that moment to sort of almost to sink into your inner child, and you're in a very despondent place, okay? So it becomes quite self-persecutory. You start literally to point the finger at yourself. Okay, so your limiting belief, however this comes through for you, you know, our limiting beliefs are very personal. So there'll be a great deal of very specific stuff in there for us. But for you, reading number 1, in whatever limiting belief there is, there's a point at which you point the finger at yourself. You start to accuse yourself of getting it wrong. Whatever's gone on, whatever's triggered it, whatever's pressed your buttons, and that's the point when you sink into a space of despondency. The interesting thing is your higher self is saying, look, that's the point when you naturally actually stop. Instead of doing battle or fighting it out or acting it out, there is a point when you withdraw, and that is the point at which you can break the habit. That's the point of momentum, because what tends to happen with limiting beliefs is that they often sort of run on autopilot. Now, for those of you that are new to my channel, you won't know that I mean anyone following me already will know I worked as an accredited counsellor, a psychotherapist, for over 28 years. I have an absolutely full-time practice. I have walked alongside hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the years and helped them to move from a position of often being very stuck to a place of liberation and of having a thriving life. And limiting beliefs are sort of, it's almost like they end up being written into the blueprint of us. Okay, so your higher self is saying to you, there is a point where what tends to happen for you guys with your limiting beliefs, and I can genuinely validate how this works as a therapist, I've seen this, there is always a point where instead of being on autopilot where we're running with it and we're in a reactive place, there's a point when the cycle comes back to us. And for you guys, the point of that cycle is when you literally become the child again. You feel helpless, you feel persecuted, you feel trapped, but that's the point when you stop. Your higher self is saying, look, when you're running with it, you're on autopilot, you're almost in fight or flight mode. When you reach that point of real despondency, that's the point when actually you can successfully stand back and notice and put the brakes on. Because what tends to happen is you loop back. You get into this place of despondency. You then get into this cycle. You loop to the cycle where you start to point the finger at yourself. You're looking in the mirror, you're blaming yourself, you're giving yourself a really hard time. You're saying it's all your fault. You know, you mess up all the time, literally. And this card is saying to you, look, this is a lie. You know, you're fibbing to yourself. It is never all your fault. You don't mess up all the time. The limiting belief has kicked in, and you are now in the space where you feel like the child who felt that he or she had nowhere to go. So the point of power for you, the point of the turning point, the point of nurture, it's very interesting to have this rune of possessions. Okay, I mean, this is a rune that says, you know, ambitions can be fulfilled. It's about possessions, nourishment. It also says you need to nourish the ground for your own deliverance. So there's a turning point here, okay? And that turning point, rather than looping back to pointing the finger, that's the point when you can sink back into the child place, and that's the point when you need to nurture yourself, put the brakes on, not point the finger at yourself, and actually call a halt. You're taking one of the swords out of that loop. Very interesting. We've got deep freeze and a year from now. Now, I'm not sure what the year from now means, so I'm going to draw more cards on this for you. What I do want to say is, actually, I do think I know what that means, but we will draw more cards anyway. The deep freeze is really interesting because this card says, stop, put a hold on things, slow it down. You don't have to try to make it. I think what happens again, it's adding to our information here, reading number 1, in terms of what happens with your limiting belief. You then kick into this place having persecuted yourself. You then start to try to actively fix everything and make it right. And all you're doing is actually fulfilling that cycle, because it's almost as though you're actually justifying and defending yourself. So your higher self is saying very clearly, actually, you know, the point of power is when you sink into the inner child, and actually you then need to step into a place of nourishment and self-care rather than looping back to this. So stop. You don't have to proceed with this stuff. This is the point where you stop. Let's draw some more cards. Now we're going to draw a from one of the tarot packs and ask, can we be given guidance about, I think I know what the year from now card is, but I'm just asking for extra information for reading number 1, particularly how to rewrite your script. Okay, we'll leave it with that. I think there's another coming here, but let's look at these first. How to rewrite your script. Okay, Ace of Cups, the Emperor. This is very clear, very clear. Oh, I am really loving your reading. Reading number 1. It's very clear, the guidance is very clear from your higher self that there actually is a point in that cycle. And we'll just check in on this card. Yeah, 8 of Swords. I get this completely. Now, what they're saying is, it's very interesting, isn't it? All these swords coming up. The 8 of Swords is the point where you feel, again, it's really reinforcing. It's that point of despondency. Now, what they're saying a year from now is, look, this is something you're going to have to work at. You know, it would be wonderful if we could just snap our fingers and overcome all of these limiting beliefs just like that. But they are actually saying you're going to have to nourish this. You're going to have to work at it, okay? Because it's quite ingrained, this limiting belief. Whatever that actual belief is, the cycle is quite ingrained. Interestingly enough, I think this is giving us greater information about the limiting belief, as is the 9 of Swords, the imagery here. I think as a little person, I think what we're being shown here, the origins of this particular belief for you were that you really were told, basically you were told that you were rubbish. You weren't any good at something, and it left you feeling as though it just wasn't worth trying. There's that sense of despondency. And so what happens is when something doesn't work out, the fear of that is so great that it's almost like it becomes that mirror. You point the finger at yourself and you do that sort of told you so. It's almost like you become your own, I can't even say inner critic, because I feel a bit like you become your own inner bully, where you point the finger and you go, told you so, told you it'd never work out. You know, that is, it's like, it's the shadow side of the child rather than the playful side of the child. It's the hurt and wounded child going, yeah, and pointing the finger back at you. Now, this is really clear as to how to rewrite that script. What your higher self is saying is, look, this is not true, okay? Let's place it on that card. This is not true. Pinocchio tells fibs. This is not true. What you were told is not true. And what you believed was not true. Now, at this point of power, when you need to stop and nourish yourself, the key to this, to rewriting your script, is actually to love yourself. It's self-love. It's for you to become almost your own hero and your own heroine. To literally center yourself in love, surround yourself in love, and also give yourself affirmations of reward. Now, these are not silly affirmations, and by silly, so I'm just going to run you through this. I feel that this is going to be quite a really interesting read, really. But affirmations need to pack a punch if they're going to work. So, for example, if somebody told you you were useless and stupid, for example, and they pointed a finger at you, and so you've got locked into that belief that says nothing will ever work for me, then it's no good sort of saying to yourself, giving yourself an affirmation that says everything will work out for me. Because actually, with the greatest of respect, much as I wish it would, it's not going to. We don't learn in life from everything going right. We learn from stuff that goes right as well as stuff that goes wrong. And the universe will give us a mixture. But what tends to happen if we've got a strong belief that says nothing will ever work out is that we only ever focus on the negative. We totally walk over our achievements. We never validate our achievements. We never say, oh, wow, I did that. We do something, we dismiss it. Someone says, oh, that's amazing, thank you so much. And you go, oh, it was nothing. And you hide and you run away and you don't acknowledge any of your achievements or any of your values. And it doesn't matter how much anyone says to you, oh, that was so amazing, I'm so grateful. You dismiss it all, you brush it off. You don't allow yourself to receive any love, any gratitude, any appreciation. And the inner child in you is starving of love and still tangled. So the way to rewrite your script, so we know how to stop this, the key here is you stop the cycle at the point when you feel despondent, and there is actually a natural pause because you feel like retreating. That's the point when you start to notice, gosh, I've retreated. I remember this reading. I am now not going to point the finger. I'm going to create an affirmation of real empowerment. And an affirmation of empowerment says, you know, some things will go wrong in my world and some things will go right. But I fully commit to support myself in honouring all of my achievements and learning from all of my mistakes. I mean, that is an empowering affirmation because it's real, it carries weight, and because it's real, your inner child can hear it. Whereas if you go, oh, I'm going to be good at everything, everything will work out for me, your inner child is going, yeah, right, you know, really, I'm going to believe that? You know, it's that kind of stuff. And then the moment something goes wrong, your inner child goes, told you so. So we've kind of got this whole dialogue going on. But when you have an affirmation that is like from the grown-up you, connected to the higher self of you, saying, you know, actually, I'm really supporting you here. I believe in you, and your higher self is really rooting for you. They are saying that this is probably going to take you, and this is being very real here, Firm but real. It's like proper parenting here. Your higher self is saying, look, this is going to take a year to break this habit, and you're going to need to work at it, but you can do it. Okay, and the way to do this is you sink into retreat and you stop and you think, oh yeah, I remember. When I sink into retreat, I'm going to press the pause button. I now need to nurture myself, and I'm going to rewrite my script. You offer yourself love. Can you imagine a child sitting in front of you where they come in and somebody was horrible to them at school? You don't point the finger and say, well, it's your own fault. You're so stupid, aren't you? No wonder everyone's horrible to you. You say, oh, wow, what can we do about this? You give them a cuddle, you hear them out, and then you start to think about how can we support you in moving this forwards? And your higher self is saying, you need to do the same for yourself. So you start with that love, that let's stop and have a listen to what's triggered this, what's actually taken place in the here and now, not the cycle of limiting beliefs, but what triggered it. Let's stop and listen to this from a loving, supportive position. And then we're going to create an empowering statement of affirmation that says, in a very real way, do you know, some of these things work out, some don't, but I am fully committed to honouring my achievements, and I can learn from my mistakes. If there's something you can do, then you can work out what to do in a real way to move it forwards. And if there is something that somebody else did, and you can send them love and walk away, or you can regroup and just know that maybe that person doesn't resonate and isn't for you, but you can find a practical pathway forwards through just thinking about it. But realigning, it's like imagining that little child part of you feeling locked into something. That point of power is when you stop naturally. You come away, you don't point the finger, you nurture. You shower yourself with love, you stay still. And every time it happens, you go back to that fundamental affirmation that says, I am absolutely worthy. I'm amazing because I'm learning from my life lessons. Stuff will work out. I am sufficiently incredible to learn from my mistakes. And when I do well, I am going to learn to honour my achievements. It's that level of affirmation that is real. It packs a punch, and it takes you out of the nitpicking stuff. But you're using the mouse energy to look at the detail in real terms, not the pattern, but the actual detail. What triggered you? If something pressed your button, you might not want to. You can think in real terms. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do about that situation? And you bring this love and this empowerment into it. So that is the guidance, Super Souls, in reading number 1 from your higher self. And I love this hand, this charm. It's this space of possibility. You know, it's this absolute space of possibility. And this rune is really saying, you can do this. It's a rune of empowerment. Yes, it may take a year, and that may seem like forever if you're entrenched, but truly, honestly, the more you work at something, the more that possibility will firm itself up. The more you notice that you've suddenly got to that point where you're no longer reacting, but you're like, oh, I just need to retreat. The moment you hit that retreat point, that's actually your point of power. That's when you stop. You move into that different place where you are literally, and you could literally do it metaphorically. You could put a chair in front of you, imagine your inner child there, and just say, right, tell me about this. What in the realness of right here and right now triggered you? Let's have a think about this, and let's find an affirmation that's really fit for purpose here, because we can learn from this and we can grow from this, you know? And again, think about a little child when they first start to learn to walk, you know, and they pull themselves up on the furniture and they wobble and they fall over, they sit down. We don't point the finger and tell them how stupid they are because they couldn't walk. We laugh and we pick them up and we help them and we encourage them. And it's fascinating how that gorgeous support, at some point in most people's childhoods, it changes. And that toppling over is no longer seen as a gorgeous, delightful, playful learning curve. It's suddenly seen as something that we're getting wrong. You know, for many of us that kicks in when we go to school, for others it's there even earlier. But wherever it's come from, you've been left feeling like you were no good, and this is what needs to change. Super souls, I am so sorry that this has felt entrenched, but this can be done. And I can actually tell you, having worked with people over the years, and it is an amazing thing, you can have carried a limiting belief or a pattern, an autopilot pattern, for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more. And you know what? It still only takes a year to shift it if you really work at it, which is extraordinary, isn't it? We don't have to remain trapped in those ongoing patterns of thinking. It's remarkable what we can do. Super souls, I am sending you the biggest hug and the biggest amount of love and the biggest amount of support and admiration, because this is the stuff of soul development, and I am honoured to be reading to you truly, truly. Super souls, thank you so much for coming into this particular reading. This is the kind of reading that attracts people who are working at that core level of soul development and soul growth. You know, it is an honour to be connected with you all. If this reading has resonated and you'd like to get any notification of any of the readings as I post them, do press subscribe, press the little bell icon, and they should come into your stream. I have a subscriber email list as well, where I give away a free private reading and some oracle cards every month. I'll put the link in the information box along with other links, because I have a whole online library. It's a completely free resource. I will just put all the links, the relevant links, in the information box and the comments, so you can access them if you wish to, including the link to the Timeless Readings playlist, of which this is a part, where you can always find readings that will bring you guidance at any moment of wobble. Super souls, I am just sending you all the love in the world and the biggest ever hug, not just to your grown-up self, hug and gratitude to your higher self, and the biggest hug to your child self as well. Tons of love. Welcome to reading number 2. You have been drawn to the card of the Cosmic Egg, the rune of Othilla, separation, and also the Tree of Life. So first of all, we're going to draw from the Inner Child cards. These are the Fairy Tale Tarot. We are asking your higher self how to change limiting beliefs and how to rewrite your life script. Let's move this up here for a moment and see what we are shown. Actually, I'm going to draw some more cards too before we move into these. I'm going to draw some oracle cards. An angel answer card as well. I think it is that one. There we are. Okay, let's have a look and see what we have. So we have 7 of Swords. We have 10 of Crystals. This is fascinating, this reading, and Sleeping Beauty. Right. Really interesting reading. This is reading number 2. Just fascinating. So we're asking your higher self about a limiting belief or limiting beliefs, and also not only how do we change them, but how can you rewrite your script. And here we have somebody literally rewriting their script. This is really interesting. So the first thing I wish to tell you that is coming through really strongly, and this comes through with the Cosmic Egg, I think that there is a sense within you, sometimes reading number 2, of being quite isolated. Part of your own limiting beliefs are actually connected, I think, to loss. Othilla is a rune of separation. So some of your limiting beliefs, I think, are very much entwined with loss, of abandonment, perhaps, of separation. And what I venture to say with the Tree of Life here as well, I feel as though they go back to former lives. You know, I think you probably have a sense of being quite an old soul and someone who's travelled here. You've been here a few times, and there have been some quite significant losses along the way, and maybe in this life part of the limiting beliefs that you're addressing actually go back generationally. You may even have been born into a genetic lineage this time. In fact, your higher self is saying the genetic lineage contains loss, and you've genetically come into this line because you've come here to process some quite abrupt separations. You've come here in this lifetime. What is gorgeous is that the cosmic egg and the tree of life are suggesting that in this lifetime, the work that you're processing around these limiting beliefs around separation, about being lovable, about being abandoned, are actually coming to a completion. You're not going to have to keep doing this anymore. Sleeping Beauty, lovely, lovely card. You know, Sleeping Beauty slept for 100 years before her prince came in, and, you know, she was under a sort of a curse, as it were, from an evil witch. She slept for 100 years, and then her prince came in, kissed her, and she awoke. You're actually in this lifetime going to be able to shift this pattern and move beyond it, because the rune of separation, not only does it tell us about the roots of your limiting belief, that's what we're being shown here, I think. But also your higher self is saying, look, this is a rune of gain. It's a rune of inheritance. You get what what you're entitled to, which is to live a life of love, of connection, for that person, that prince or princess, to come home to you, that soulmate, that connection. So there is, gosh, so much hope contained in this reading. So, how to change the limiting belief around separation? We're asking your higher self, and how to rewrite your script. Now, here we have, this is very interesting. Do you know, both the cards in reading 1 and reading 2 have given us indications of timings, which is, you know, really, really interesting. We also have the card of protecting treasure and in the near future. So let's place those there, and we're going to draw some more tarot cards now. We already have a key here, because actually part of the way in which your higher self is suggesting, advising, guiding you to overcome your limiting beliefs is literally to write your story. You know, when we write our story, we release something. Whether you do this creatively or you do it through journaling, you can become an observer of your past. I think with your limiting beliefs, you're very aware of them. You're very aware of those insecurities around loss, around separation, around abandonment. You're very conscious of them already, reading number 2. You have that level of awareness. You know, the egg is really ready to be transformed. The snake is ready to shed its skin. It's time to release this. You're actually very conscious of the specifics of this particular limiting belief. A part of you sort of, I think in your head, you know that it shouldn't really be true. And yet somehow situations have occurred within this lifetime that have reinforced that. That's actually why you've come here, to fix this once and for all, you know, to stop this repeating pattern. So part of it is the looking back. You might want to also keep a dream journal. Your higher self is saying, look, as you write your experiences, you're going to notice the common themes, and you'll see that they follow a storyline. And you'll know that storyline, because you're able to write it, you'll be able to see that it belongs to the past and not to the present. The empowerment for you is changing your position of expectation. So first of all, they are offering you protection. Your higher self is saying you are protected, you are loved. Everything you have is everything you need in order to create the world you want is actually in you. You have the answers, you have the secrets. We're not looking externally at events, we're looking internally in this particular reading. And you're going to shift this. We'll draw more cards in a moment. It's going to happen. The shift is going to take place in the near future, which is actually heavenly. There's a real strength here with the Tree of Life. Now, the Ten of Crystals is a card of expectation. This is like Christmas Eve. We're hanging the stockings up here over the fireplace. Christmas is about to happen, but there's still a sleep to go. You know, so Christmas Eve involves going to bed. It makes me, I'm just having a little minor chuckle. I used to say to my own children, you know, the sooner you go to bed, the sooner it'll be Christmas. But there's something about entering the dream space. I do think you might want to keep a dream journal and work within your dreams. And if you're able to lucid dream, you know, when you're in a dream and you know you're in it, then engage with your dreams. Because your dreams, I think, are going to show you the key to rewriting your future. What you're being asked to do here. I think you have a very clear awareness of the limiting beliefs you have around abandonment. Within your dreams and just in your journaling and your observations of looking back at history and the patterns and the, I don't know, let's say you've had a series of relationships, you're the common denominator in those relationships. So go back, write about them, journal about them, write your dreams down. The secret here is literally writing. You're going to become even clearer than I think you are already. I think some of you know you have these abandonment issues, you know you have separation issues. Write those stories, and then as you write them and you formulate the clear storyline that your limiting beliefs are following, because that storyline is sitting in your expectation. Okay, expectation is a form of memory. If you think about it, if you are a glass half full person, you've probably always, you know, if you have fairly good experiences, you tend to expect good stuff to come to you. If you have negative experiences, you tend to expect negative ones. I mean, I sometimes use, this is a silly example, but I will voice for reading number 2. I voiced it in reading number 1. For anyone new to my channel, I worked as an accredited counsellor, a psychotherapist for over 28 years. I had a full-blown private practice. I have worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, navigating challenges in life and coming out the other side. I have a whole online library. I'll put various links in the information box for you guys, should you want to access that stuff. But the point is, expectation is a form of memory. And one of the examples I used to give to people as I was working with them was, you know, if you went to, I don't know, post a parcel at your local post office, and, you know, that 1 in 10 billion chances there was a, I don't know, like a hold up, a raid of the post office while you were there. I guarantee, even though you know that that was a 1 in a billion chance, and you know it's never going to happen again, next time you go to your post office, you will be worried about it. You'll be frightened, you'll be traumatized, you'll be expecting the same thing to happen again, even though logically you know it won't. A part of you will be fearful that it will. So you will have that expectation, that seed, that egg of expectation planted in your mind through experience. And we carry this stuff through from previous lives. We often choose a genetic lineage that has abandonment issues or whatever the issues are, because we're coming into that line to fix it and sort it out. You're very close to doing that. You're very, very close. So within the context of your lifetime now, your higher self is saying, write the story. Because, you know, actually your prince or princess is about to come in and wake you up from this 100-year sleep. This is possible. Rewrite the story. Write the story so that you identify with clarity, not just the issue, but the specifics of the storyline that you are building into your expectations. And then rewrite it, literally write it on one page of a book, leave the other page, the other side blank, and then write the opposite story. Okay, so you're beginning to focus your energy on a completely different expectation. So let's say you had a crisis at the post office, just as a silly example, but you know where I'm going with this. You write that down, you write exactly what happened, you write your fears. On the opposite page, you write the exact same, you write a different story. I went to the post office, bumped into a really good friend. I bought a lottery ticket and won £5 and, you know, a scratch card. Or you start to write the opposite experience, and you're centering yourself in the energy of possibility and the expectation in rewriting of something different. That is what your higher self is advising here. Now we're going to draw some more cards. We're going to draw from a tarot pack to ask if we could be shown more information for reading number 2 about shifting these limiting beliefs, rewriting your script, which I think we've been given that information. But how is this going to pan out? Because we're seeing in the near future here. What information can we be shown and given for reading number 2? Let's have a look and see. Hey, the universe, super souls, yes. This is an ending, a completion, and a new beginning. Gosh, it really feels, oh gosh, and then we have the Princess of Discs. This is gorgeous. Wow, this is gorgeous. Okay, so we have the universe. This is absolutely a confirmation that you are so close to cracking this one, okay? That's what I want to say. Princess of Discs here. This is, this is a card of self-care, of nurture, of wisdom, of knowledge. Look at the way we have oak trees here. Oak leaves surrounding this golden sun of creativity. And we have here in the 10 of crystals, look at the surrounding edge, we have oak leaves again, and we have the tree of life. You really are at that turning point. You have it in your awareness. You know where the issues sit. You absolutely know this already, reading number 2 people. It's time to get into a space where you start to center your focus here on love. You look at everything through the eyes of love. You honor everything with gratitude. You appreciate as well. There's a very significant message here as well. I always feel with the 6 of Cups, it's particularly in this pack. The 6 of Cups means that something is revealed to us within, again, relationships, so separation within those patterns. You know, it's within relationships that most of us get hurt. It's where most of us find our greatest struggles and our greatest challenges. It's not from life generally, it's from relationships. And this is the point where you lean into a space of gratitude for all of the learning. Okay, so as you rewrite that script, you also hold a space of, do you know what? I wouldn't be the person I am today without this. So you lean into that high energetic space, that resonance, the highest vibrational resonance of gratitude. And then you rewrite your expectations. And here we have the teacher rewriting. It is as if you become your own guide, your own teacher. Interestingly enough, I think for some of you, the writing could be really quite valuable in supporting others to understand the way in which they have experienced loss and separation. Some of you may actually find yourselves writing or involved in work which is connected to loss, connected to separation, connected to the insecurities, and teaching others to overcome those issues themselves. But you are the teacher, you are your own guide, you are your own teacher. You understand where this comes from. The point of power for you is in rewriting, literally rewriting your script, physically centering yourself in gratitude for the learning. One page, you identify the clear patterns of expectation. You write a new story of expectation, and you continually reread this story, the new storyline. Remind yourself of it. It's like giving yourself a bedtime story every night where you read to yourself your new expectations. You literally are reading to yourself. You're saying, wow, isn't this amazing? You have become who you are through these experiences, and we have the empowerment to do this. So you separate from one storyline and you inherit a new one of your own creation. And the shift is very close. It really is. It's beautiful. You might even want to, very interesting message coming through here, but your higher self is saying you might even want to record yourself reading the new storyline to yourself. Play it to yourself as you go to bed, or play it to yourself in the car when you're, in your moments of aloneness. I mean, this is the stuff that is personal. But you might want to literally write a new story tale for yourself where your prince or princess comes along, wakes you up and says, wow, I can't believe you've handled all of that. You're so amazing. You know, it's rewriting that script, but write the story, record it, play it to yourself as an audio. Because actually, especially in your dreams, during your sleep, your unconscious is going to process that new message and integrate it into the unconscious workings of your dream world where you are processing things. So yeah, you might want to do that, record yourself a bedtime story, listen to it as you sleep with some relaxation music in the background. On my own website, in my own library, I have a big library, I'll put all the links in the information box for you guys. There are some meditations, some sleep meditations. I mean, if you fast forward, so you ditch the bit where I'm talking at the beginning about sort of, you know, depending on what the sleep meditations are about, you know, you could listen to that music, listen to your own storyline over it, because it's designed to recalibrate. You know, in fact, there's tons of music out there on YouTube that you could listen to recalibrate, but play yourself your own script first, the new storyline. Reading number 2, this is such an empowering reading. It's utterly beautiful. You've really so nearly cracked this because you have such a big awareness already of what these issues are about. It's just a question of using these tools to actually rewrite your script and shift that perspective, and your sleeping time is very key to this. That's what we're being told. Your higher self is really saying this. You know, your higher self can communicate and help you to integrate this new storyline while you're sleeping, and will also help you through your dreams to show you any aspects of the previous script that you actually need to observe in order to create that kind of rewrite. Reading number 2, I'm blown away. It's gorgeous. I am sending you all the love in the world, and so sending big respect to your higher self, who is, gosh, wow. I mean, you guys have, you're old souls. You've been doing this work and you're here with purpose. And my goodness me, this opens a very different chapter of life for you. It really is the happy ending stuff. So super souls, if this reading has resonated and you'd like to get notification as soon as I post anything, do press subscribe and the little bell icon. That way my readings should come into your stream. And I have a monthly prize draw where I give away a free private reading and some oracle cards. Do check them out. If you want to be in that subscriber offer, there's a subscriber email list to add yourself to. Again, I'll put the links in the information box below. Super souls, I am sending you all the love in the world. Welcome to reading number 3. You have been drawn in by the card of Tiger, the symbol of peace, and the rune of wholeness. Now we're going to draw from the inner child cards first as we ask your higher self's guidance on how to change limiting beliefs. I'm seeing this card and also this card. How to change any limiting beliefs, and also how to rewrite your story, your life script. So, wow. Okay, reading number 3. This is really, really interesting. First of all, we have the Seeker of Swords. Okay. We then have the 8 of Swords, and we then have the Ace of Crystals. Let's move our cards around. We'll put this one up here first. I'm just going to place these up here, and then we're going to draw some oracle cards before we dive in as well. But this is really, really interesting. Really interesting cards, super souls. There's your card. And an angel answers as well. Okay. Sad embrace. And not the right time. Gosh, this is really, really interesting. Okay, let's put these cards. I'm going to leave that rune. Actually, I'll move the rune over here for a moment. I don't think that they're focusing very well. Let me bring this card up here, show this to you. and see whether that will help the camera to focus a little better. Yes, that's going to work for us. Super good. This is really, really interesting. There's something here that needs to be let go of. There's something really deep down here that has... Do you know, it's really interesting. So I want to say, I feel like it's something, the outcome of something has been a double-edged sword. Okay? It's really, really interesting. I'll come to this card in a moment. The Seeker of Swords. It's like literally we're seeing these swords cross over here. What I feel is something, what we're being shown here, what your higher self is validating, is that something took place in your life that really plummeted you literally into the depths. It plummeted you into darkness, literally. A very, very, really, I would say within yourself, a very dark place. I think you've learned to cover it well. That's what I want to say. Reading number 3. That's what your higher self is saying. And the limiting beliefs, the kind of limiting beliefs that come from this, it's very interesting. The actual detail of the belief is going to be unique to you, but it's come from a very specific kind of defense almost. It's like a survival from something that happened that really plummeted you into the depths. It's as though you had to find creative ways to survive. That's what I'm being shown in this card. You really had to find creative ways to survive and to handle what took place. And part of your creativeness meant that you learned to, in many ways, not to show your feelings. You learned to be guarded. I'm seeing this, you know, this keeper of swords, seeker of swords rather. Interesting, I'm saying keeper of swords because it kind of resonates there. You learned to protect yourself. I mean, we're seeing it here in this card too. The sad embrace, but she's actually embracing herself. So you've learned, whatever your limiting beliefs, they came from and they are intertwined into a space where it's like your defenses are, you've learned to defend yourself. I'm trying to get my wording here quite right. You've learned to defend yourself. You've learned to keep yourself safe. But what kind of happens is that when we learn to defend ourselves and keep ourselves safe, we tend to sometimes, as we navigate life into our grown-up life, I mean, this is definitely, I think, childhood, goes back to childhood. We tend then to, because we've learned to keep ourselves safe, we block out some of the good stuff that we actually want to bring into our lives. And so then in our grown-up lives, it reinforces our belief that either we're not lovable, or that, you know, we're not going to get a relationship that will work, or we won't attract the right kind of person. And we've become defended, which is important, and you needed to. However, the defense then stops people from actually connecting to the real you. And so because things then, you know, people don't see the real you, it can build the kind of beliefs that say, you know, nobody is ever really there for me. You know, I give to everyone, but they don't give back, that kind of thing. Now, we're being shown the Ace of Crystals here. And this is really, really interesting because, you know, this is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, really, this amazing crystal here. There's opportunity for you to change something here. But, and this is really important, and it's a very, very important but, the key here is about, and your higher self is really validating this. What I want to say is you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? Because you've developed some amazing skills. Actually, you know, we develop, if we need to survive, let's say, something, the life skills we develop are actually incredible. You know, they really, really are incredible. And we often can be, you might be an amazing negotiator. You could be, you know, a counsellor. You could be striving in the world to make a difference. All of those things, you can be very, very good at achieving things. All of these kinds of skills come from someone who's learned to look after themselves. But that defence, which came from this, it's like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because it protects you and gives you these amazing life skills, but it also blocks you from then receiving what you want, and then those blocks in turn build a series of limiting beliefs that sort of reinforce that perspective that the world isn't safe, or people won't really love you, or they won't give to you. So this is what I'm being shown here, and this is what your higher self is communicating. Now, your higher self is saying, this is really, really interesting. I'm going to draw more cards around the not the right time, because what I feel this card is telling me is not that it's not the right time to create a shift. Far from it. We have the Ace of Crystals. The not the right time card, I feel like I think for some of you, it's almost like you were, I want to say born into the wrong time. There's a connection here to some past life stuff for some of you as well. So whatever took place, if what I'm saying is sort of resonating and yet you can't locate where it belongs, it's because some of you are carrying some kind of information from a previous life experience. Whatever took place, you had to learn to defend yourself, whether it's in this lifetime or a previous one. Now, Tiger is a really interesting energy, because tigers are very connected to the feminine. The tiger energy here, she has a moon. Let's bring this up so you can see this. She has the moon here on her forehead. You know, tiger energy is, tigers actually hunt in the dark. So again, it's these, you have some extraordinary skills. You have a lot of knowing around you. I'd venture to say you're probably a soul who's been here more than once, even if this is a current life circumstance that brought this. I'm going to draw more cards. I want to know a little bit more, maybe as to whether this is important for you to look into the shadows of this and understand where it's from, or whether your higher self is saying, look, actually, we can work out how to use these life skills, keep them. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but learn to navigate with them in a conscious way, so that you put down the defenses when you don't need them, but, you know, own them when you do, as it were. Let's have a look, see what we're shown here. So we're asking for more information, please, for reading number 3, about this primary situation. Does reading number 3 need to look at this into the shadows, or do they need to come out of the shadows and just approach things differently? What are we being shown for reading number 3? Okay, let's see. I think it's very fascinating. I will say, the Empress, lovely. And look, she holds the moon. We have the feminine again. Okay, I'll talk about this in a moment. What I will just say, I voiced it in both of the other readings. For anyone new to the Moon Magic Tarot channel, I worked as an accredited counsellor, a psychotherapist, had a full-blown psychotherapy practice for over 28 years. So I have literally walked alongside hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who have moved from places of challenge into places where they have a really thriving life, and they've overcome limiting beliefs and challenges. So you know, this is territory that is familiar to me, and I really do understand that the very things that we put in place to protect ourselves ultimately can then become a block to us simultaneously. And we do in our grown-up lives have to begin to tweak those blocks, but we never ever throw the baby out with the bathwater. We keep the life skills from that. So your first card is the Empress. I'm actually going to place this card here. It feels really important that she sits here. I feel like we've got, okay, there's something really important here about maternal energy. Okay. Ooh, look at this. We have the 10 of Discs. We have the card of Gratitude. We have the King of Discs. We have the 4 of Swords. We have the 5 of Discs and the 4 of Discs. Okay, this is becoming very clear now. So what I will say for starters is you are not being invited to dive deep and look at this in some way, shape or form. What you're being asked to do here, your higher self is actually giving you some really significant information here. So however let's say, whatever limiting beliefs have become embedded in you because of those defenses, it is actually there is a very clear route to being able to work with this so that you can let them go and again rewrite your own script. We'll possibly draw a few more cards around the rewriting. Firstly, the 10 of Discs. What we're really seeing here is the roots of this are family. It comes down to family. You know, you just weren't nurtured enough, or you didn't get what you needed. You know, whatever took place that threw you into the depths, the circumstances around you, and they will be really unique to you each. Those circumstances, the roots here are in a family origin here. Okay. What they are actually saying, your spirit team, your higher self is saying, the key to shifting this defensive pattern into a space where it becomes a consciously used tool, I hope that makes some sense to you, is gratitude. Because you've gained a lot from this. It's given you the most incredible life skills. And I can honestly say that I have seen that in many, many people, many people. People who have survived challenges develop they do develop incredible life skills. Often they are the people that really strive to make a difference in the world. They have such strong values. You know, in fact, I will share something actually. It's just a brief thing, but I think it has a relevance. Many people in the years that I was working as a therapist used to say to me, you know, in sort of social settings, oh, I couldn't do your job. You know, I couldn't sit and listen to people, you know, who aren't happy or whatever all day. And I remember saying, you know, every time to people, that is totally a misperception, because whatever has happened to anyone and whatever they are bringing and talking about, they are choosing to do something about it. You know, whatever happened to them that was out of their control and not their fault, they absolutely are taking full responsibility for themselves and saying, I want to change something, I want to make a better life for me, I want to process this, put it down. And so it's amazing, you know, it's the positivity, there is an abundance of positivity in that environment. So I used to really put people right on that score because it felt really important that there was this sort of misperception. And I think it's worth voicing as well, just in case any of you feel there's something you do want to look at. But we're not really being shown that here. We're being shown that you can move through this with knowledge and understanding. So 10 of Discs, it's sort of family stuff and even family patterns where you weren't allowed to speak or you were obliged to be happy all the time. You know, there's that sort of system as well. We get in family systems as well. Sometimes it's almost like we grow up and we have to be happy all the time, so we can never acknowledge how we actually feel. And that causes, you know, that sort of setup causes really difficult internal stuff, and we sort of feel isolated, we can't share of ourselves, and that carries through into our later grown-up life and our later grown-up relationships. So whatever, you know, again, and that then reinforces those limiting beliefs, which then develop because we feel we can never share of ourselves because it won't be okay, because it wasn't okay then. So whatever took place in that core, it's created limiting beliefs. Whatever they are, they're unique to you. Now you're being asked to shift them by almost like mothering yourself, parenting yourself, but with the feminine. And also with some ferocity, okay? And when I say ferocity, I mean good. It's that good mothering. It's that, it's the lioness in this instance, the tigeress instinct. You know, we can defend ourselves, but only when we need to. You know, if you approach a tiger and she has cubs, she's going to spring into action and defend and protect. But actually, providing you don't approach her and you observe from a distance, she'll be fine. She'll observe you and she will leave you alone. She will only defend when she needs to, okay? And you're being invited by your higher self here. They're saying the route to, I want to say wholeness here. This is the rune of wholeness, the path you must follow. The route to wholeness for you is about learning to defend when you need to, rather than all the time. And the moment you shift that pattern, your limiting beliefs will start to change, because your experiences will start to change, because you'll be able to let people in a way that allows you to challenge and remove those limiting beliefs, and then start to rewrite a different storyline, a different script. So it comes from the origins of family. Gratitude is the key, because when you find yourself in a defensive place, actually it's really good to stop. It's like the tigress. We don't look at her and think, gosh, man, she's over the top. You know, when she defends, we think, wow, isn't she amazing? So there's something about offering yourself, honouring yourself with gratitude, honouring your life skills. Literally, honour your life skills and learn to notice them. This is also what we're being shown here. Now, when we have developed an autopilot set of skills that are actually very useful to us, learning to use them consciously and consciously rather than unconsciously takes time. So we have this gorgeous King of Discs here, sitting on the tortoise. Your higher self is saying, look, slow and steady wins the race here. This is about learning to notice. I love the fact that this tortoise is sort of under the ground, looking up at the sky. Learning to notice so that you develop the skills to keep absolutely every life skill, but to know when to use it and when not to. The Four of Swords is a card of contemplation. So your higher self is actually saying that the key to navigating this whole transition, which will then let go of your, it will then let go, remove, change your limiting beliefs and rewrite your script, is to allow yourself full permission to pace yourself through any decision making. You know, take your time so that you observe, so you're not reactive, you're not reacting in a defended way. If someone, and learn, this is a really interesting thing as well. So Super Souls, I have a big online library. It's a completely free resource, always will be free, membership is free. It's there to help and to support any aspect of emotional stuff. It's part of where I've come from, I suppose. In that library there is a section called non-defensive communication, and it's like a little mini course that teaches you very specific additional skills to navigate conversations where we might normally feel defensive. Okay, you might find that helpful. If it's relevant to you, do check it out. The library is completely free. I'll put the link in the information box and the comments for phone users. Now, that non-defensive communication is incredibly empowering, because we are going to meet people in life that press our buttons. By developing slowly but surely additional skills where you take your time to navigate conversations. What took me to that was this Four of Swords card, because actually sometimes people put us on the spot, and even within that little course you'll learn how to have a sort of a preset answer to somebody who puts you on the spot, which gives you time to step away and go away and come back with greater preparation. Because I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that after the event, I can always think of what I would have liked to have said rather than what I did say. I think it's a really human thing. Some people are really immediate and in the moment, and whilst that's fabulous, for some of us, it's better to go away and after the event, even if I'm pleased with what I've said, I probably would honestly have reviewed and said something better, or, you know, so there's all sorts of skills within that little mini course. And this is what I'm being shown here. Your higher self is saying there's a need to learn almost like a different set of skills alongside the ones you already have. And the different set of skills will enable you to choose how and when to use the existing skills that have come, that have supported you in protecting yourself. As you develop these additional skills, which mean that you can actually navigate even better than you do already, but with real empowerment and consciousness, everything will start to change. The past will be behind you, wherever it's come from, whatever the timing. And it's going to set you in you're going to be much more leveled out, much more grounded. That's what we're being shown here. So rewriting your script, I'm going to draw some extra cards for that too, because I feel, it feels really important to look at that aspect of this reading as well. I'm going to draw from the Enchanted Map Oracle. We're just going to ask, reading number 3, we can see how this can be shifted. This will change those patterns, but could we please ask for reading number 3 about rewriting their script? Can we receive advice and guidance here, please? Okay, lovely. Okay, this is really interesting. Reading number 3, really interesting. So, firstly, rewriting your script. They're asking you, your higher self is saying, listen. Again, don't be reactive. The more you listen, and this is to yourself as well as to others, the more you will be able to manage what at the moment feels like anything that's uncertain. You know, part of your looking after yourself has been about trying to hold on to some sense of certainty. Again, the timing here is really important. You've experienced, there's a flavour of what took place to you, whether it's this life or a past life, but there's some sense, you were left feeling like you were never on solid ground. You could never feel that the timing would ever be right for you in any way. There was never any sense of, it's a sense of security. You know, there's something very important about time that connects into the primary position that you've come from, the primary cause of your incredibly amazing life skills that have been there to protect you. Pausing and listening, listen to yourself, listen to others. It will help you to handle uncertainty. Okay? And actually, what your higher self is saying, which is really interesting, is that there are people in the world, I think something, I would venture to say someone is going to be coming into your world who is possibly, I want to say, not your usual scene. Really interesting message coming through here for you guys. But basically, as you begin to slow yourself down, listen, observe yourself, you're going to feel more able to handle new situations, to feel less defended, to go out, to meet different people, get into different situations, because you'll know that you can handle conversations, communications. You're going to handle things differently because your confidence will start to build. Someone's coming into your world to help you. And it will come in an unexpected form. Now, I can draw a few more cards around it, but that's what your higher self is saying. There's going to be assistance. literally, you're going to be taken into a situation or a circumstance. Someone will arrive in your world where you literally, I mean, this is like Alice in Wonderland. Something is going to happen and you're going to regain, they will assist you in regaining your childhood curiosity. So instead of the unknown, very clear message actually here, instead of the unknown feeling scary, it will become a sense, there'll be this sense of discovery. And this is about rewriting your script. It's like changing your perspective from fearing the unknown to a place of thinking, gosh, I know I can handle myself. I have these amazing life skills. If I need to, I can defend myself just like that, because actually I learned to do that. So it's like, be grateful you have those amazing life skills. You can switch into that defense mode just like that if you need to. That's fine. You can also, though, really, you have very heightened, you have a heightened alert system, which means you have a heightened intuition as well. So slow yourself down, learn to listen, build your communication skills so that you can notice how things are. And rewriting your life script is actually about learning that the unknown, it's like learning to be curious about the unknown rather than fearful of it. So you're not always looking over your shoulder and expecting the worst. You're actually recognizing that it's perfectly okay to be curious, and because you have such amazing life skills and such amazing intuition, you can kind of move into the unknown fearlessly. Your intuition will kick in like nobody's business if it's needed. So your higher self is saying, look, you can actually, just by learning to notice and listen without defending and reacting, your life script will change. And the bit of your life script that's really key to change is the rewriting of, instead of the unknown being a fearful experience, the unknown becomes a place of discovery and curiosity. This is where affirmations are really helpful as well. And what I would say, affirmations that are real, you know, sometimes it's no good, for example, creating an affirmation for yourself that says, you know, everything in the world, everything that's unknown is going to be good and exciting, because that would be a foolish thing to say, and your inner child will say, yeah, right, I don't believe you, because I know that's not true. But what you can do is develop an affirmation that says, I am shifting my perception. You know, so I am, yeah, maybe a better one. I am curious about the unknown. And I know that I have the amazing life skills I need to intuitively know when to move forwards and when to step back. You know, that's a kind of an affirmation. You know, I have amazing life skills. It's therefore safe to check out and be curious about the unknown and make choices when I need to. You know, or, you know, knowing that my boundaries will be respected, whatever is right for you. But it's an affirmation that is believable, it's real, and it affirms your life skills whilst also opening that doorway to literally look into and believe in a different future. The moment we remove the fear of the unknown, because we know that you can listen, you can respond when you need to, when it's appropriate, that's when things then shift. And literally, it changes your life script completely. I do think you've got, your higher self is saying someone is going to come and help you with this. You know, it could be a friend, a partner. Someone is going to come in and open a door for you that actually almost invites you to begin to shift into a space of curiosity. You know, maybe it's, I wouldn't say a partner in crime, but do you know what I mean? Somebody who also maybe has struggled with a similar set of defences, that there's someone coming in. Your higher self is really affirming this. So super cards, really super cards. I think reading number 3, I think that I'm going to wrap up this reading. It's been a really interesting set of cards. Your higher self is amazing. Your higher self really holds that like a rainbow bridge of healing. That's what I feel that you're being shown and offered here as well. Your higher self, because the rune of wholeness is, there's only one way to go. It's the path you must follow. You know, it's like the path of peace. You know, your higher self is saying, you know, there is no need to defend all the time. You have been amazing, but it's time to put this down. Timing is really key. I am actually going to draw just one more card for you guys around this. I feel this is sort of telling us about the timing of where things happened and why things happened to you. Sometimes a past life, but I do feel I want one more card around this. Just a little bit more information, please. Okay. Oh, look at that. You have the card of the yellow brick road. Wow. That is amazing. This is really fascinating. Look at this card. Isn't it interesting? This is, you know, Dorothy with the Tin Man and little Toto here and the lion. You know, she's been tested. Do you know that is what this card is really? It's just, this is such an affirmation here for what I was tuning into but wanted to check. You've really experienced some significant tests. You know, Dorothy literally was tested and tested and tested, and each of those tests she grew from them, and then there came the point when she could find her way home. Literally, she could find her way back. She'd been tested and she followed the yellow brick road. So what this card is saying to me is exactly what I thought. You actually have been tested, not just in this lifetime, but in past lifetimes. You are an old soul. That has really been confirmed to me here. You're an old soul. You have traveled this road many times. You really have. And I really want to honor that, actually. You've traveled this road many times, and the reason we have the ace here, let's just move these cards down so we can see them. The reason you have the Ace of Crystals is because what's taken place in this lifetime is a final testing. There's a lovely, gosh, what beautiful, beautiful affirmation for you guys. I'm so glad we've drawn this extra card, reading number 3. This is such an affirmation. It's literally saying, this is like this lifetime here now is a final testing, and this shifting here, holding that different perspective, you're sort of letting go of fear in some way, a fear-orientated system, and using all the incredible life skills to shift. This is the Rainbow Bridge of Healing. This is a final testing. You've had many lives. You've experienced many challenges that have connected in with the need. Either you've been helpless, you couldn't defend yourself. Guys, this is a timeless reading, obviously. If you're checking out the Timeless Readings playlist, I did do a reading about past lives that might actually interest you guys as well. The information that came through was extraordinarily precise, actually. That may be important. I may do some more readings on past lives because, you know, these are generic readings and we often need to do quite a few so that people can find the one that's really right for them. And of course, if you've had many lives, you may need to tune into more than one to really clarify things for yourselves. Yeah, this is a confirmation. It is now time to slow things down, learn to listen, and to shift from a place of defending through fear to using those very amazing life skills to navigate your life from a position of empowerment, knowing that you can re-find your curiosity and let go of the fear of the unknown. This is just super. You have the life skills, you've met the challenges. Wow is just what I want to say. Wow, wow, and more wow. I just don't know what else to say. The path you must follow, and what do we have? The yellow brick road. This is like a homecoming for you in shifting this final test within this lifetime, shifting those perspectives which will rewrite your script. Holding on to the life skills. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. this will not only address something of a healing of that root cause, that gratitude for who you are and the amazing person you've become because of everything that's happened. You are also, you're not going to have to do it again. It's basically, this is a real space of new beginnings. Super souls, I am very in awe of you, actually. This is amazing. I am sending you the biggest amount of respect possible, tons and tons of love and hugs, and just, wow, new beginnings. Gosh, just, whew, huge. Right, super souls, if this has resonated with you, do subscribe, press the little bell icon, and then as soon as I upload any readings, they'll come into your stream. I post, I'm posting readings which help, you know, with weekly guidance, you know, what's happening in the next 7 days. They're timeless. You can find whichever one is right for you, but I do post them every Sunday, and I know some of you guys follow those week in, week out. Thank you. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support of me and my channel. Thank you to those of you who have used the super thanks in the comments, and also those of you who are supporting me through Patreon. Truly love you so much, and really appreciate really appreciate your support. And actually some people have also donated through the library too, so just so much gratitude to you, not just for your support of me, but you know, for who you are. Super souls, tons of love, and any relevant information I will put in the information box with any links that are appropriate. Tons of love.